What's up, guys? Welcome back to Molomaniac News. Today we're going to be talking about HRV because it's something I've been looking at over the past few years. It stands for heart rate variability, but it's just giving us a much deeper look into stress, recovery, and overall energy levels. And since that's been the topic of most of our conversation the past couple weeks, I figured it's a good time to introduce HRV for recovery. Mainly because when most people think about recovery, they usually just think about, whether you feel sore or tired after a workout. That's how they measure how recovered they are. But recovery is really happening through your nervous system all day long, because your body is constantly adapting to stress, whether it's from training, if it's poor sleep, if it's work, if it's lack of recovery, travel, if you're eating like crap, if you're sick, even mental stress or emotional stress. And so that's kind of where I'm thinking HRV is going to be really useful. So what is HRV? And a helpful way to think about it is, the difference between your heart rate and then heart rate variability. So your heart rate is how many times your heart beats per minute, and then HRV is the measurement of the small changes in time between each heartbeat. So a healthy, recovered nervous system tends to have a little more variability between beats, while a stressed or fatigued system tends to become more rigid and less adaptable. So in simple terms, your HRV is just a score we use to show how much energy your body has available for recovery versus how much energy is being used to deal with stress. And that's one of the main reasons I personally use a tool called Morpheus. It's a heart rate monitor. I wear it for 2.5 minutes every morning, and I think it's the most accurate measurement tool for your heart rate variability. I'll drop a link in this so you can, if you want to check it out. But what I like about Morpheus is that it's focused more on accuracy and recovery trends instead of just throwing random readiness scores at you. So it uses that chest strap that has biomotor sensors that use actual electrical activity of your heart rather than relying on optical wrist sensors like Oura Ring, Garmin, Apple Watch, or Whoop. Now these devices, the optical sensors, they're still absolutely useful, but they're estimating HRV using light sensors. So you can probably see on my Garmin watch, maybe not with the light, but there's light sensors, and those can be really influenced by a lot of things, right? Like if you move a little too much with it, your sleep position, the temperature of your skin, how much circulation's going through there, your hydration, and just a bunch of other variables. Morpheus doesn't depend on those things. Morpheus is going to measure the true R to R intervals directly from your heart itself, which gives you a much more reliable HRV reading. So I don't have to wear my Morpheus strap throughout the night. I only wear it for 2.5 minutes in the morning. These sensors, imagine they're giving you an estimate of your HRV as you sleep. So it's not really a measurement of where you ended, but more an average of how you slept. So the HRV scores these guys give you are more saying this is the quality of your sleep, but they don't tell you where you ended. And that's why I use the Morpheus first thing in the morning, because it gives me a more accurate measurement of how well recovered I ended, not the quality of my recovery. So maybe that's confusing. Hopefully I made it a little more simple for you. So I've just found that consistency matters a lot when you're using HRV to understand energy and recovery. And what's interesting is that HRV often reflects stress before you consciously feel it. So there are gonna be days when you may think you're fine, but your HRV is showing that your body is still trying to recover because you have a really crappy score. Other times you may feel super tired mentally, but your body's actually really recovered and you're ready to train. And over time, the more you use Morpheus or a tool like it that actually measures your heart rate activity, it doesn't depend on optical sensors, you're going to notice patterns. So you're going to notice how poor sleep affects your recovery. You're going to notice how alcohol impacts it. You're going to notice how back-to-back really hard training days lower your HRV. You're also going to notice how stress outside the gym still impacts your energy and recovery inside the gym. And that's why I think HRV tracking is really valuable, even for people who aren't hardcore athletes. Most people today are dealing with chronic stress, nervous system fatigue, and they're not even realizing it, right? Like everyone just keeps pushing harder, everyone's drinking more caffeine, they're sleeping less, and wondering why they feel like they're losing energy all the time and they're exhausted. HRV just gives you a really good understanding of what your body is actually recovering from. I think it's getting really close to personalized medicine for you. And for me personally, as I've been using this tool, it's become less about optimizing workouts and more about understanding recovery, stress management, and long-term health. Because the goal is not to obsess over numbers every single day. It's about learning patterns your body is showing you and understanding when you need more recovery, more sleep, less stress, or when you're actually ready to push harder. Because you have to remember, biology depends on averages, not single data points. So if you've never tracked your HRV before and you're interested in improving that stress stress recovery response we've talked about the past couple weeks, I would recommend looking into Morpheus. It's a system I personally use, found it to be one of the more accurate and practical tools for understanding recovery and managing stress over time. So I'll drop that link below, but hopefully this was helpful, guys. We'll see you next week. We're going to continue talking about just how movement and exercise impacts health, and we're going to talk about all the other variables that are impacting that stress recovery response. See you in the next one.